What happens when you're a curious 13-year-old Shoshone boy who drinks from a sacred spring your grandmother explicitly warned you never to touch, and you wake up the next morning with 4 legs, fur, and an overwhelming urge to howl at the sky? I thought she was just telling stories to scare me in 1841, tales about the transformation water that made humans and animals swap spirits for 3 days. But when I opened my eyes that dawn and saw my own human body sleeping next to me with something else inside it controlling it, I realized her warnings were horrifyingly real. For 72 hours I lived as a wolf while a wolf lived as me. And when we finally switched back, I could understand every bark, growl, and howl from every wolf and dog in our territory. My family thought I'd gone insane, but the wolves, they knew exactly what had happened to me. Before I tell you what the wolf did with my body while I was gone, less than 5% of you will have the courage to finish this story. If you've ever wondered what it's like to see the world through animal eyes, if you believe that consciousness is stranger than we think, keep reading. Because what I experienced in those 3 days changed everything I thought I knew about the boundary between human and animal. And the wolf's message to me before we switched back still haunts me today. My name is Speaks to Wolves, though back then I was just running Fox, a troublemaking 13-year-old who never listened to his grandmother's warnings. I was born in 1828 in a Shoshone band that followed the buffalo herds across the plains and mountains of what the white men call Wyoming and Idaho. My grandmother Silver Moon was our tribe's storyteller and keeper of ancient knowledge. She knew every sacred place, every spirit location, every dangerous spot where the normal world touched something else. And she had warned me about the Wolf Spring exactly 7 times. Never drink from the spring in the hidden canyon, she would say, gripping my arm with her wrinkled fingers. That warned me about the Wolf Spring. That warned me about the Wolf Spring worlds. If a human drinks it under the full moon, their spirit trades places with the first animal that drinks after them. For 3 days you become the animal, and it becomes you. 3 days of chaos, 3 days of confusion, and if you die while switched, you stay that way forever. I nodded each time she told me this, thinking it was just another scary story adults told to keep kids from wandering too far. Like the stories about skinwalkers, or thunderbirds, or water monsters. Entertaining maybe with some truth buried deep inside, but not literally real. I was so wrong. It started because of a stupid bet. My friend Swift-Ear and I were competing over everything that summer. Who could climb higher, run faster, shoot straighter? One day he challenged me. I bet you're too scared to go to the Wolf Spring Canyon. I'm not scared of anything. I lied immediately. Then prove it. Go there tonight. Bring back a stone from the spring to prove you touched the water. I should have said no. I should have remembered my grandmother's warnings. But I was 13 and stupid and couldn't back down from a challenge without losing face in front of my friends. So that night, under a full moon, of course it was a full moon, because my luck was terrible, I snuck out of our camp and made my way to the hidden canyon. It took me an hour of climbing and squeezing through narrow passages to reach it. The canyon was beautiful and eerie, lit by moonlight, silent except for the sound of water trickling from a crack in the rock face into a small pool, the Wolf Spring. I approached carefully, knelt beside the water, and reached for a stone to prove I'd been there. The water was crystal clear, reflecting the moon perfectly. It looked so pure, so inviting. I was thirsty from the climb. Just one sip wouldn't hurt, right? Just to say I'd done it. I cupped my hands and drank. The water was cold, sweet, perfect. I felt it go down my throat, into my stomach, spreading through my body with a strange tingling sensation that made my skin prickle. Then I heard a sound behind me, a low growl. I spun around and saw a young gray wolf standing at the edge of the spring, its eyes reflecting the moonlight, watching me with intense curiosity. We stared at each other for a long moment. Then the wolf approached the spring, lowered its head, and drank from the same water I had just tasted. The moment its tongue touched the water, everything went wrong. The world started spinning. The moonlight became too bright. I felt like I was being pulled apart and put back together wrong. The wolf's eyes met mine, and I saw the same panic and confusion I was feeling. Then everything went black. When I woke up, the first thing I noticed was that I was lying on 4 legs instead of 2. The second thing I noticed was that my sense of smell had exploded into something overwhelming. I could smell everything. The earth, the water, the trees, the distant scent of our camp miles away, the rabbit that had passed this way hours ago. It was like going from being half blind to seeing in 1,000 new colors. The third thing I noticed was my human body lying next to me, breathing steadily, eyes closed. I tried to scream, but what came out was a howl. My human body's eyes snapped open. But the way it moved was wrong. Jerky, confused, instinctive rather than thoughtful. It stood up on 2 legs clumsily, looked down at its hands with wonder and fear, then looked at me with eyes I recognized. The wolf was in my body, and I was in its body. My grandmother's warning wasn't a story. It was a literal instruction manual for something that actually happened. Guys, I need you to stop and imagine this. You wake up in a completely different body, different senses, different instincts, different everything. Your human knowledge is still there. You remember who you are, where you came from, but you're experiencing the world in a totally alien way. Comment below if you've ever had a dream where you were an animal. Now imagine that dream lasting for 3 full days while something else pilots your human body. That's what happened to me, and it was the most terrifying and amazing experience of my life. The wolf in my body stumbled around for a few minutes, trying to figure out how human limbs worked. It tried to walk on all 4s at first, then awkwardly stood on 2 legs, swaying like a drunk person. It made sounds, attempts at human speech that came out as garbled nonsense. I tried to communicate with it, to explain that we needed to stay together, that this would reverse in 3 days. But all I could do was bark and whine. The wolf in my body didn't understand me. It looked at me with fear, then suddenly bolted, running away from the canyon in the direction of our camp, running on 2 legs in a weird loping gait that definitely wasn't normal human movement. I panicked. The wolf was heading to my village in my body, and I had no way to warn anyone. I tried to follow, but running on 4 legs was harder than it looked. My wolf body knew how to do it instinctively, but my human mind kept interfering, overthinking each movement. By the time I got close to the camp, the sun was rising. I hid in the brush and watched in horror as the wolf in my body stumbled into the village. My mother saw me first and ran over, concerned. "Running fox, where have you been? We were worried." The wolf in my body stared at her, then made a sound that was supposed to be speech but came out like "Marah." My mother's face filled with concern. "Are you sick? What's wrong with your voice?" The wolf tried to communicate, gesturing wildly with my hands, pointing at things, making sounds. It was clearly trying to explain what had happened, but without human language it just looked like I'd gone completely insane. Over the next hour I watched from the bushes as the wolf in my body confused and terrified everyone in the village. It wouldn't eat cooked food, it grabbed raw meat instead. It tried to walk on all 4s several times. It growled at dogs. It kept sniffing people intensely, which was very not normal human behavior. My grandmother was the first to figure it out. She watched me carefully. Then her eyes widened with recognition and horror. She grabbed my mother and whispered something urgently. Then they both looked toward the bushes where I was hiding. Silver Moon walked slowly toward my hiding spot, moving carefully so she wouldn't startle me. When she got close enough, she knelt down and spoke softly in our language. "Running fox, if you're in there, if you can understand me, come closer. Let me see your eyes." I stepped out of the brush cautiously. My grandmother looked into my wolf eyes, and I saw her recognition, her sadness, her worry. "You drank from the wolf spring, didn't you? Under the full moon. And now you've switched with a wolf." She closed her eyes. 3 days. You have to survive 3 days in that body. And the wolf has to survive 3 days in yours. If either of you dies, the switch becomes permanent. If you both survive, you'll switch back at the same moment you switched forward. I whined, trying to communicate that I understood, that I was sorry, that I was terrified. "I can't tell the others," she said quietly. "They wouldn't understand. They'd think the wolf in you was you going mad, and they might try to cure you in ways that would hurt the wolf. So I'll protect your body, and you," she looked at me seriously, "you need to survive as a wolf for 3 days. Can you do that?" I had no choice. I nodded my wolf head. The next 3 days were the strangest of my life. I had to learn to think like a wolf while keeping my human consciousness. I was hungry constantly, but I didn't know how to hunt properly. My instincts would kick in, chase that rabbit. But my human mind would hesitate, and I'd miss. I tried eating plants, but my wolf stomach rejected them. On the second day, I encountered a pack of real wolves. They approached me cautiously, sniffing, circling. I was terrified they'd attack me. But then something amazing happened. They started communicating with body language, with subtle sounds, with scents, and somehow impossibly I understood them. New wolf, strange scent, confused smell. Are you lost? I tried to communicate back. Using wolf sounds my body instinctively knew how to make. Yes, lost, need help. The pack alpha, a large gray female, studied me carefully. You smell wrong. Wolf body but human spirit inside. We know this smell. The switching water. How many days? 2 days in. 1 day left. She nodded, understanding completely. We will help you survive. Come. For 1 day, I ran with a wolf pack. They taught me how to hunt, how to move, how to think like a wolf pack. They shared their kill with me. They protected me. And through our communication, I began to truly understand how wolves see the world. They weren't savage beasts like people thought. They were intelligent, social, caring, with complex relationships and communication. The alpha told me something that changed my perspective forever. Humans think they're so different from us, but we both love our families. We both protect our young. We both feel joy and fear and sadness. The only difference is, you speak with air, and we speak with body. You're not so far from us as you think. Meanwhile, back at the village, I later learned that my grandmother was managing the chaos of the wolf in my body. She convinced everyone I was sick with a fever that made me confused. She fed the wolf raw meat secretly. She kept it away from situations where it might hurt itself or expose the truth. The wolf, for its part, was trying. It was clearly intelligent, trying to figure out how to be human, how to communicate. My grandmother said it spent hours trying to form words, practicing sounds, attempting to explain its situation. By the 3rd day it had managed to say a few words. Wolf, water, switch, 3. Though everyone thought it was fever dreams. On the morning of the 3rd day I felt it coming. A tingling sensation, like the night at the spring. I was with the wolf pack when it happened. The alpha looked at me and said, "It's time. Go back to your human den. The switch happens where the spirits decide." I ran back toward the village, my wolf body moving faster than I'd ever moved as a human. I found a spot near the camp, hidden but close enough to watch. And then, exactly at the moment the sun reached the same position it had been 3 days ago, the world spun again. The pulling apart sensation, the blinding light, the feeling of being reshaped. I opened my eyes and I was human again. Human hands, human legs, human senses that suddenly seemed so limited compared to what I'd experienced. But I still had the knowledge. I still remembered everything. And when the village dogs started barking, I realized with shock that I could understand them. New person, strange person, smells like wolf and human mixed. The wolf was gone back in its own body, released from the 3-day nightmare of being human. I hoped it was okay, hoped it had learned something from the experience like I had. I stumbled into the village. My mother saw me and burst into tears, running over to hug me. "You're back. You're speaking normally." The fever broke. My grandmother caught my eye over my mother's shoulder. She gave me a subtle nod. "Keep the secret. Let them think it was a fever. Don't tell them the truth." But over the next weeks, everyone noticed something strange about me. I could calm any aggressive dog with a look. I could predict when wolves were nearby before anyone else sensed them. I spent hours sitting at the edge of the village, listening to wolf howls in the distance, and sometimes I would howl back and they would respond. "What are you doing?" Swift Deer asked me one day when he caught me talking to a wolf pack a mile away. Saying hello, I said simply. "They're just checking on me, making sure I'm okay in my human body." He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. But I hadn't lost my mind. I'd gained a perspective that no other human in our tribe had. I knew what it felt like to be a wolf. I understood their language, their society, their way of seeing the world. And they knew me too. The packs in our territory recognized my scent, remembered the human who had briefly been one of them. My grandmother eventually explained everything to my parents, swearing them to secrecy. They were horrified at what had happened, but also amazed at what I'd gained. My father, a hunter, started asking me questions about wolf behavior, using my knowledge to understand where herds would move, because wolves knew the patterns better than humans did. I never told anyone else the full truth, but the wolves knew, and whenever I encountered a pack after that, they would acknowledge me, the human who walked as a wolf, the boy who spoke both languages, the bridge between two worlds. Here's what I learned. The boundary between human and animal isn't as clear as we think. We're not as different as we pretend to be. Animals have thoughts, feelings, societies, languages, just different from ours. And consciousness, it's stranger and more flexible than anyone imagines. For 3 days, my human mind piloted a wolf body and learned that me isn't my body, it's something else. Something that can adapt, that can exist in different forms. If this story amazed you, share it. Share it if you've ever wondered what animals think. Share it if you believe consciousness is more mysterious than science admits. Share it if you know that sometimes the craziest experiences teach us the deepest truths. And remember, the next time you look into an animal's eyes and feel like they understand you, they probably do. The next time you look into an animal's eyes and feel like they understand you, they probably do. The next time you look into an animal's eyes and feel like they understand you, they probably do. The next time you look into an animal's eyes and feel like they understand you, they probably do. The next time you look into an animal's eyes and feel like they understand you, they probably do. The next time you look into an animal's eyes and feel like they understand you, they probably do. The next time you look into an animal's eyes and feel like they understand you, they probably do. The next time you look into an animal's eyes and feel like they understand you, they probably do. The next time, and somewhere out there, animals are having experiences just as rich and complex as ours, in languages we've barely begun to understand. That is my story. That is how I switched bodies with a wolf and came back speaking its language. And I would do it again despite the terror. Because those 3 days taught me that the world is so much bigger, stranger, and more wonderful than humans usually see. To the wolf who spent 3 days in my body, I hope you made it home safely. I hope you learned something from being human. And thank you for not getting my body killed. To the pack that helped me survive, you saved my life and taught me that family isn't just human. Wherever you run now, I listen for your howls. The switch ended. The knowledge remains. And I still speak to wolves. Comment below. If you could switch bodies with any animal for 3 days, which would you choose and why? What do you think you would learn? Share your thoughts.